Hello everyone, and welcome to today's analysis. This is Tang Jingyuan speaking. Lately, something unusual has been unfolding. Xi Jinping appears to be dialing down his visibility quite noticeably. He's no longer seeking the spotlight in the same aggressive way. What signal does this send? Amid mounting external pressures and ongoing internal power struggles, Xi seems to have been compelled to lower his profile on the surface. Yet behind the scenes, he's still pushing through highly aggressive and damaging policies without hesitation. Reports from sources with knowledge of internal dynamics suggest that during a recent closed-door Politburo meeting, Xi personally issued a secret directive. But then came a sharp move from Trump that effectively forced Xi back into a defensive posture, exposing his real intentions. As Trump put Xi directly under intense heat, metaphorically roasting him on the grill, an old piece of so-called Xi wisdom that has long circulated in Chinese official circles resurfaced. The 3 knows and 3 don't knows. Xi, who has repeatedly demonstrated a talent for playing the long game and understating his ambitions to outmaneuver rivals, has not only deceived political adversaries over the years, but has also reportedly generated enormous personal wealth from the mass publication and distribution of what many critics describe as low-quality propagandistic books. The real signal in authoritarian systems often isn't shouted, it's the sudden silence. For more than a decade, Xi cultivated an image of omnipresence. His speeches dominated headlines, he occupied the center seat at every major gathering, and his international trips generated wall-to-wall coverage. His power wasn't just exercised, it was performed loudly and visibly. Authority had to be seen to be believed. But now, there's no official announcement, no explanation, not even a subtle update notice. His public appearances have quietly decreased, his statements have become more restrained, and his tone has softened. It's like someone who used to have the microphone wide open, suddenly turning the volume way down. Observers aren't even sure whether he made the adjustment himself or if others forced it. This isn't a single event. It's a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The overwhelming personal branding that defined the past era is quietly receding. An analysis published on Weidu, a prominent overseas Chinese commentary platform, highlighted the unusual implications of this change. What used to be framed as "I set the tone" has shifted to "we explain." Personally directed has become central decision-making, and individual dominance has given way, at least rhetorically, to collective leadership. In the CCP system, high visibility can be staged, but a sudden retreat to low visibility is often involuntary and signals real danger. So why the abrupt pivot to a lower profile? Is Xi consolidating power so thoroughly that he no longer needs to speak? Or is the situation so volatile that speaking risks too much? Or has something far bigger already happened behind closed doors? Let's break it down. First, the latest official economic data show declines or stagnation across multiple sectors, hardly the rosy picture the regime likes to project. In such circumstances, staying high profile means owning the failures. Lowering the volume allows for some plausible deniability and risk dispersion. Second, military purges and high-level shakeups have continued relentlessly over the past year, indicating that internal cleansing is far from over and consensus at the top remains fragile. Third, the external environment is one where bold statements carry high risk. In a world full of miscalculation traps, saying less reduces the chance of error. Xi's safest play right now is restraint. When these 3 factors converge, the result is clear. The more power concentrates in one person, the more risks concentrate there too. Side effects are emerging: economic woes, diplomatic setbacks, systemic dysfunction. All arrows point upward to the same name. When every problem funnels to one leader, that leader has no choice but to start reducing the noise. This is the inherent cost of Xi's hyper-centralized model. That's why we're seeing a behavioral shift. Previously, constant reinforcement of personal authority was essential. Now, strategic invisibility has become necessary. This isn't a stylistic choice, it's a direct response to mounting pressure. In times of tension and sensitivity, the true signal lies not in what is said, but in what is deliberately left unsaid. On the surface, Xi has been forced into low-key mode, but behind the curtain, he's still executing ruthless moves. Insiders report that in a recent Politburo session, Xi issued a clear directive: strive to turn the current US-Iran conflict into a repeat of the Afghanistan quagmire, to bog down American military resources in Iran the way they were trapped in Afghanistan. Australian-based legal scholar Yuan Hongbing, citing sources with conscience inside the system during an interview with Kanzhongguo Media, revealed details of this instruction. She reportedly emphasized dragging the US into a prolonged entanglement mirroring Afghanistan to drain American energy and attention in that direction. This forms the core of his current strategic posture toward the US-Iran war. In line with this top-level guidance, the regime's massive external propaganda apparatus has relentlessly pushed narratives that the conflict will drag on indefinitely, that Iran will hold out long-term, and that the US has no realistic path to a quick resolution or reopening of the Strait of Hormuz shipping lanes. All of this disinformation campaign traces back to Xi's directive: transform Iran into America's next Afghanistan. Yuan further noted that the CCP continues to play a classic two-faced role on Iran, publicly calling for peace while privately providing full support to the regime's survival. Through covert channels, including via Pakistan, Beijing has accelerated deliveries of military equipment, from components reliant on Beidou navigation to drones, missiles, and materials, details that have already surfaced publicly. Xi's inherent personality trait of duplicity has evolved into a full national strategy toward the US and Trump: say all the nice things, do all the dirty work. Yet all these calculations appear to have been upended by Trump. Xi had hoped for a high-profile summit in early April to project an image of parity and partnership on the global stage. Instead, Trump unilaterally requested a postponement, leaving Beijing out in the cold and Xi stewing in frustration. Daniel Russell, former US Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and now at the Asia Society Policy Institute in New York, observed that Beijing views this sudden temporary delay as disrespectful. The one silver lining for China, he said, is that it spared them the awkwardness of hosting Trump while simultaneously condemning his actions against Iran as illegal aggression. Trump didn't just snub Xi, he put him on the spot. Beijing's standard response to the Iran conflict remains the familiar formula: no firm commitments, no outright rejection, just vague calls for ceasefire. This calculated ambiguity once served CCP diplomacy well, but the environment has changed. Through international media, Trump directly called out China. 90% of its oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, so Beijing needs to participate in escorting and securing the channel. He wanted clarity before any summit. This was a brutal move, placing Xi squarely on the hot seat, forcing a binary choice with no easy exit. The spectacle continues. Will Xi keep issuing soft platitudes, or will he scramble in confusion? Either way, his illusions are crumbling, and the goal of turning Iran into another Afghanistan is dissolving amid the flames. This pattern of strategic oscillation isn't new. If you trace it back, you'll see it's baked into Xi's political DNA. The resurfaced Xi maxim, the 3 no's and 3 don't knows, still circulates widely in officialdom. According to commentator Xin Gaodi, Lai Changxing, the fugitive tycoon at the center of the 1999 Wanhua smuggling scandal, once had close ties to Xi during his Fujian days and offered candid assessments of his character. In a drunken moment, Xi reportedly joked to Lai, "I know I have to eat today, but I don't know where. I know I have to speak at tomorrow's meeting, but I don't know what to say. I know I'll sleep tonight, but I don't know with whom." This is the now revived 3 no's and 3 don't knows. The remark captures the opaque, unpredictable reality of CCP official life. Lai represented a major vulnerability for Xi, likely a key reason why, before taking power, Xi went to extraordinary lengths to have Lai extradited from Canada and imprisoned. The 1999 Yuanhua case rocked Fujian's entire political establishment, yet Xi, after 17 years in the province, emerged unscathed. Hong Kong media, citing insiders, attributed this to Lai viewing Xi as too naive and politically mediocre to bother bribing. Lai, chairman of the Wanhua Group, orchestrated smuggling worth over 50 billion RMB, prompting then Premier Zhu Rongji to personally oversee the investigation. Lai fled to Canada, leading to over a decade of diplomatic wrangling until his 2011 repatriation. In 2012, he received a life sentence with all assets confiscated. Was Xi truly naive? Far from it. He excelled at playing the fool to eat the tiger. Before ascending, almost everyone pegged him as a mild reformer, more approachable than Hu Jintao, more pliable than Li Keqiang. Seen as the least threatening compromise candidate, he rose as history's weakest general secretary, only to swiftly dismantle rival factions and establish absolute dominance. Even amid rumors of his power waning, Xi pulled off another masterclass in deception, outfoxing anti-Xi elements and launching what some describe as a military-backed move to sideline Zhang Yuxia. Commentators have called his ability to play the grandson unmatched within the party. On the financial side, beyond hidden family wealth, including his sister's reported control of a near trillion RMB business empire, consider the public books under Xi's name. How many has he authored? How widely distributed? How much revenue? Data indicate that around and after taking power, collections of his speeches, treatises, and thematic compilations have exceeded 10 billion copies in total print runs. Commentator Shan Fengchen notes that Mao published 22 titles, publicly funded, royalties pocketed, making him one of the era's wealthiest servants of the people. Deng had 10, Jiang 8, Hu 4, all similarly state-subsidized with personal gains. Xi outpaces them all in output, though ghostwriters and party machinery undoubtedly handle the heavy lifting. The financial scale is staggering. Exact figures are opaque, but consider one example. The recent push for correct view of political performance education centers on excerpts from Xi Jinping's discourses on establishing and practicing a correct view of political performance, priced at 20 RMB, with CCP membership surpassing 100 million. Mandating one copy per member implies over 2 billion RMB in spending, funneled through party publishers, tax channels, and likely back to Xi himself. Yet these works are widely derided as devoid of substance. Under Xi Jinping thought, corruption has metastasized across the military and bureaucracy. No official uncorrupt, no cadre clean, with anti-graft campaigns only making things worse. The glaring contradiction exposes the hollowness. If the guidance produces such rot, aren't the books themselves little more than garbage? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more in-depth breakdowns. See you next time.